Good afternoon, Patriots. It's July 5th. I got a little lazy this morning, didn't shave because I don't have to work. So I figured I've done a couple of these videos already, but they were about a year back. I figured I'd go ahead and do another one. You know, you find different things to talk about on these anyway. I'm going to start this one by telling you that I was raised in a Democratic household that wasn't liberal. I know that sounds weird, doesn't it? But my dad was a union factory worker. My mother was an elementary school teacher. They were both raised on farms, so they had farm values. Both of them were Christian. My mother was pretty much non-denominational. My dad was raised Catholic. And my dad went all the way up to the highest local rank in the Knights of Columbus, which is an organization not really attached to, but associated with the Catholic Church. And they are staunchly pro-life. Being raised on farms, Dad was also an avid hunter. He still owns the 4 guns he had. Doesn't get out much anymore. He's 75. His health and Mom's are both going downhill. That's why I'm here at their place today. My sister and I have been trading off quite a bit to make sure that they can stay in their house, not go into assisted living. Basically, with that being said, while my dad tried to push for me to vote Democrat all the time because of his job, I was pretty much an independent. Come from a long line of veterans, and I'm one myself. My mom has 2 brothers, had a brother-in-law, God rest his soul, and a father that were veterans. Her 2 brothers, or one of her brothers and her brother-in-law were Vietnam. My grandfather, of course, World War II. On my dad's side of the family, my grandfather on that side was also a World War II vet. And I'm Desert Storm. My other uncle served in peacetime during the 80s. So, needless to say, the first election that I could legally vote in, I did vote to try to get George Herbert Walker Bush a second term. That didn't happen. But at the time, I didn't realize how much the disease of liberalism had infected the Democratic Party. And it seems like they get more infected every year, doesn't it, folks? I mean, it's nuts. My first actual interaction with liberals happened in college after the Army. I went to a local community college, went through trade school, got a associate's degree in a technical department, and one of the required classes was a political science class. And I had a cousin that was in that class with me, with her and her mom and my mom being sisters, and her dad and my dad raised on farms. We shared the same values. We were the only 2 people in that class that were pro-gun and pro-life. Flat out, up here in little old Alpena, Michigan, that we were the only 2 in that class. That was crazy. And I really didn't pay much attention to what was going on in politics from there until 2008 elections. And then I didn't pay as close of attention as I should have. Yeah, I fell for Obama. Every goddamn lie he told. He was promising to bring jobs back. That never happened. His free health care wound up shoving it down our throats there at gunpoint, basically. You either get the health care packages we want to give you, or pay a hefty fine for not being able to afford it. So by Obama's second term, I'd gotten onto social media, and I'm heavily into the antique tractors. Through my antique tractor groups, I got linked up with a lot of guys in the Midwest. I don't know how many of you were aware of what he was doing in this country. You've all heard of Clive and Bundy. I'm sure both of you know, or I'm sure most of you know about it one way or another. Something didn't strike me right about that, because it's not often that farmers and ranchers go up against government. I mean, I live out here in farm country. That's a field in front of me. I can tell you we're the most patriotic people around. My dad, by the time I was 7, if we were at a parade and the VFW color guard marched out in front of us, if I didn't have my hat in my hand, my dad was knocking me alongside the head. And you see him flying from pickup trucks, you see him flying from barns, you see him flying from tractors, working fields, I mean, everywhere. And here's the Bundys taking up arms against the federal government. Well, come to find out, the Bureau of Land Management out west was designed as a cooperative partnership. There were federal lands that they were allowing ranchers to graze on. The ranchers were paying a fee to graze on them. And Bureau of Land Management would just step in, well, we need to improve the land here. We need to change how this is set up. Under Obama, they decided to shut that operation down, breach the contracts they had with those ranchers. That's what that was about. Everybody was talking about, oh, he wasn't willing to pay the grazing fees. No, he was perfectly willing to pay the grazing fees. They gave him an ultimatum. Shut your operation down now, get your cattle out of here. Otherwise, we're going to charge you so much, $500 a day until you get them out of here. And then we're going to confiscate them. Well, when they came to confiscate the cattle, that's when he took up arms. And then there was a Hammonds out there, They had started a controlled burn that got out of hand in the early 2000s. It wound up crossing over onto public land. They'd already served jail time and paid fines for it. Well, the Bureau of Land Management under Obama decided that wasn't enough, retried them for the maximum. Old man Hammond would have been in his 80s when he got out, had Trump not given them pardons. What they were trying to do, or what they were hoping to do, was with the Hammond men in jail, they were hoping the Hammond women couldn't handle the ranch, and they'd wind up getting it once it went up for taxes. They don't understand ranches out here. Everybody works on them. Ranch, if you got a ranch and a farm, every family member works on that operation. They know that operation in and out. And so by the time elections 2016 came up, I was adamant I wasn't voting Democrat. And then when Hillary got the nomination, I was really adamant I wasn't. I was disappointed initially that Dr. Carson didn't get it. But now I see Trump was the right choice. What kind of irked me was what followed the election. You had, up until the election, you had the Democrats going, oh, I hope the Republicans aren't sore losers. Holy crap, what a shit show when they lost. And what really irks me is before we got the Russian collusion crap, the first thing was there was all these racist rednecks in the Midwest. The same people voted for Obama 8 years before because they were hoping for a change that never happened. And if you look at the map, it happened too late for... Trump had already won the Electoral College when Michigan was decided. But Michigan turned red for the first time in 20 years. The reason it was turned red was described by a downstate politician who was irked at her own party. She said Trump came down there talking jobs, talking the economy. Clinton showed up. Every time they brought it up, she changed the subject to gender pronouns in bathrooms. And I made an interesting discovery after the election, because I did have one woman that was extremely liberal on my news feed. She's now the ex-wife of a friend of mine from my Army service. And immediately after the election, and I've heard Brandon Straka talk about this too, because he was one of those people. It was not one of the ones she had on there, but he was of a similar mind frame. She had gay people that were scared to death that they were going to be imprisoned for their sexual preferences, or worse. She had black people that were on her news feed that were positive Trump was going to sign an executive order to reverse a constitutional amendment and put them back into chains. And she had Mexican friends that were citizens. They were swearing up and down that he was going to deport them. The liberal media convinced them of this. They didn't listen to any other news source. And I think they got short-term memory when it comes to Trump, because it wasn't long before, it wasn't up until he got the Republican nomination. Oh my God, liberals loved him. You know, you had pictures of him with Jesse Jackson, with Al Sharpton, on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And it's gotten worse since then. Trump derangement syndrome is so far out of hand right now. Y'all, after watching these last two Democratic debates, oh my God, those candidates all make Obama look like Newt Gingrich. They're that far left. Holy cow. Biden wants to give free health care to illegal aliens, but completely do away with private health care. That's a slap in the face to my dad. My dad, who worked 43 years in the same plant and has a very good health care plan. They're going to take that away from him. Take a look at the VA. Take a look at what's going on with the VA. And then take a look at what the government did to our gas cans. And then tell me you want to trust them to handle health care. And right now we got Cory Booker down there helping illegal aliens get into the country. What the hell? Bernie Sanders promising to up our taxes to cover people with huge college debt. Let me clue you. This is what really messes me up with a liberal standpoint. You have to grab a hold of a big degree, no matter how stupid it is. I always thought getting a higher education was primarily for the purpose of moving forward in a career field. That's what my mom did. And she's got a master's in teaching. And then there's guys like my uncle down the road here. He got a job as a deckhand on a boat in 18. Worked his way up to conveyorman. Once he got the conveyorman position, he thought, well, I got enough money to take some college. Why don't I take college courses and become a chief engineer on the boat? And that's just what he did. The man's going to retire at 54 because he was savvy enough to take his education to match his career. Meanwhile, you got these people that got these giant college debts because they took out the maximum. They decided they wanted to live off their college loan while taking these courses. And they took a course in, or they took a major in gender studies or something like that. And now they can't get a job, and they want us to pay for it. That's what Sanders is about. You know, even if you take a career-oriented college course and you pass it and you find out you're not real good at that field, say you get out in the field and you find out, hey, I was really book smart when it came to masonry, but I really ain't worth a damn at it as far as a career person. You can call up the place that's got that loan and they'll work with you. But it seems like the Democratic Party is no consequences. And between that and the privilege point system they got, it's stupid and ridiculous. I mean, I'm the scourge of the earth because I'm a white man who happened to be born Christian and out in the country. How the hell does that work? There's people out here living in rented trailer houses. And the idiots that are look at who's pushing the slave appropriations and gay appropriations. The slave appropriations, I'll at least give you a cover on. Cory Booker, whose parents were both IBM executives and sent him to an Ivy League school in England. That's better than 90% of most of the people in this country. If this is the best they got, the Democratic Party's done. The only way they're going to win is if we get stupid like they did in 2016 and go, oh, our candidate's got it in the bag. Let's just not go out and vote. Liberalism is a disease. It just needs to go away. And we've got people right now in this country that are praising communism and socialism. I was one of the last ones in Germany when the wall fell. The difference between East Germany and West Germany wasn't pretty. Socialism is screwed up. It took East Germany 5 years from the time Germany reunited to get back on a level playing field with the rest of Germany. And while we're being called Nazis, Antifa isn't getting punished as a hate group. They claim to be anti-fascist, but they're acting just like the brown shirts circa 1935. No. We need to give Trump a second term. We need to take the House back. We need to have a stronger force in the Senate, because right now conservatism is the only way to go. I'm not a big fan of McCain's, but I really wish I'd have paid closer attention in 2008, because I don't know how many of you remember Joe Lieberman. He was John Kerry's running mate in 2004. Shortly afterwards, he had some sort of falling out with the Democratic Party. They dropped him as a candidate for his own seat in a state. He went independent and won it anyway. And then transferred to Libertarian. He wasn't campaigning for Obama. He was campaigning for McCain. What's that tell you? There aren't any more, like my parents left, that are Democrats but not liberals. The psychotic ones have taken over the asylum. There's no way I could possibly vote for them ever again.